Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the SoundRhyme SR7 and the MANGIRD XENNS Top. These are the two latest hybrids that I personally have acquired, and I'm going to be taking them and comparing them to the Aful Performer 8, which is also recently launched, the ISN NEO5, which is another recent launch, and then also in a little bit cheaper price range, the Hisenior the venerable Aful Performer 5, and the Jazeer 41T. So this is kind of like let's say a selection of some past market references with some recently released hybrids that are slowly gaining some momentum and positioning themselves as the current references as well in the market. Anyway, let me just take you through the box quickly. The box of the SoundRhyme is the usual SoundRhyme affair, simple in terms of its visual aspects. Nothing, I mean, if anything, actually, they could improve a little bit more, give it a little bit more of a pizzazz, of an impact. After all, we are talking about an IEM that costs $369. Anyway, open that up, sleeve. Inside we have this particular case here. Okay, all right, we have this case, which is the one I'm using, which inside that case we had this cable, which is a stock cable, and some tips, and then it also had this metal puck, and the metal puck is where the actual IEMs came. So that's a nice little touch, not something that I've seen before. So in effect we have two cases, you could say it. Two cases and a decent enough cable, although I'm not using the stock cable. I'm using an IVPIQ and also a decent amount of tips. I'm actually using the stock tips. The stock tips are pretty decent. It's these green stemmed ones that usually comes with some of the ISN and Panon stuff as well. Anyway, as for the IEMs themselves, resin shell, nice size, nothing too dramatic in terms of the size. SR7, as you can see, it's a 1+6. So it's got a 9.2 millimeter dynamic driver, plus then 4 Sonian balanced armatures, 26U model if I'm not mistaken, and 2 Knowles 33518s for the high frequency, for the treble. So decent enough selection of hardware, nicely put together, good looking shell, fits nicely. And also worth mentioning is that it's got these switches, okay, all right, which has now become again the rage lately. And in the particular case of the SR7, yes, the switches do change, particularly the frequencies, the low frequencies up to about 800, 900 hertz. They are dramatically altered by using the switches. But personally, I left it in the 0-1 position, as I believe that's the one that gives the most coherent and balanced sound to the SR7 and allowing it to showcase what it is capable of doing. And that's it. The cable, as I mentioned, it's an IVPIQ cable. I chose it because I like it. It measured well, and that's it. I mean, no other particular fancy reason. The other IEM that I have for you here today is the MANGIRD XENNS Top. This is a 1+8, so 1 DD plus 8 BAs. The packaging is a little bit more upscale. After all, we are talking $530, so a little bit of money already. The way it's divided up is it brings this box here with all the accessories, the cable and so on and so forth, and the tips and so on, and then brings this case here. Well, inside this box comes the actual carrying case, which I'll show to you now. So presentation is nice. I mean, it's I guess what you would expect for a product of $530, I guess. And that's it. I mean, again, nothing really much to be said. This is the actual carrying case that I was saying. Okay, nice carrying case, not exactly small, but does its job. This is the stock cable. It's a modular cable. I didn't really. It's not bad, but I was a little bit disappointed. I mean, $530. I was expecting something a little bit better. I was expecting a cable along the lines of the cable of like the Jazeer brings. Actually, funny enough, I am using the Jazeer cable on here because I bought these separately. They're pretty nice. As for the IEMs themselves, very pretty IEM with a screen faceplate. Very nice size trail. Not big for the amount of drivers that are inside. Fits beautifully. I'm using as well those green stem tips, and that's it. I mean, be it the SoundRhyme or be it the MANGIRD, they both fit well. No issues with isolation. They're not heavy. They're not fatiguing to wear. They just do their job perfectly. As I mentioned, I've selected a few other IEMs here which I thought made sense to bring out to better position the MANGIRD and the SoundRhyme. In terms of what I used to listen it, I used my Prime deck over here in the top right hand corner with the runabout. Actually, here we go. Alright, runabout with the Prime deck. And I also used momentarily the NX7 and M15 combination, my Frankenstein combination. Okay, let's talk about then the sound and what these two IEMs are about. Let me start by saying that all of these IEMs have a very similar style of tuning, which is neutral warm, let's put it that way. And the biggest difference between all of them is how the bass is then done. Is it a gliding bass or is it a tucked bass with more or less energy? That's the biggest difference between all of them. All of them as well have in common a very well executed mids. The mids are flawless in any one of these IEMs. Obviously there are ones which are better than others, but the mid-range presentation of vocals and instruments is spot on. In terms of timbre and tonality, all of them as well spot on. And where you again will see a little bit of a difference is how then the upper mids treble is handled. Less energetic, smoother, or a little bit more energetic, but still maintaining that smoothness and that quality of what you would expect for a product at this price range, at least. The SR7, $369, as I mentioned. So big money. It's not cheap. But I guess you can say that it's well worth it. It's an IEM that, again, very much like the other SoundRhyme products, doesn't have any pretensions to be nothing else but what it is. The tuning switches, like I said, they convey two basic tunings. One which just emphasizes the bass, which in my opinion just then detracts away from the mids and from the highs and just spoils the overall presentation. It's fun, it's engaging, it's okay, but it doesn't, in my opinion, the SR7 doesn't require that bass boost. When I show you the graphs later, you'll understand what I'm saying. Bass is clean, detailed. It's a bass. There's two distinct groups of bass here. There's the bass of the SR7 and the Performer 8 and the Performer 5 and the Jazeer 41T, and then there's the bass of the MANGIRD, the bass of the NEO5, and the bass of the Tanstrom. Although the Tanstrom is neither 100% the bass of these, nor is it the 100% the bass of these. Okay, let's put it that way. There's two distinct groups here of bass execution. So what I'm saying by that is what the bass here is. It's a gliding style of bass. It's clean, it's detailed, it's good texture, good speed, nothing really to be faulted there. It could have a little bit more mid-bass impact, but I mean, this is me now faltering it. This is me now nitpicking and being hard on it. It really is a very well executed bass, okay? And when you compare it, for example, to the Performer 8, which is the closest that you can actually have in terms of price and overall configuration. Although graphically they seem very similar, you will hear that the bass on the Performer 8 is just that little extra weight here. It's just got a little bit more note weight. it's not that one is better than the other. It's just the way they are. Personally, myself, I prefer the bass on the Performer 8. But I'm happy with both of it, honestly. In terms of the mids, both of them very well executed. The mids, a little bit more energetic on the well, at least graphically on the SR7, but when you hear it, that's not what comes across. It comes across very well balanced out with the bass and with the treble that's present. So nothing to be said there. Male and female vocals are well done. I think personally that the female vocals are a little bit how can I say this? And what I'm saying based on a comparison with the Performer 8. The female vocals here come across as being a little bit colored, a little bit pushed, forced. Okay, but again, that's me personally, and that's me now. Once again, nitpicking. Okay, I'm trying to find points where you will also perhaps notice the differences. Okay, but I'm not by any means trying to say that the mids or the female vocals in this case are badly done. No, far from it. Far from it. In terms of instruments, very good execution, be it guitars, be it percussion, strings, anything. It's really well done. I feel that percussion instruments come across better actually than guitars, but nothing again which is offensive. In terms of the technicalities, so resolution, soundstage, imaging, detail retrieval. If the switch is in the position which is it's on, then yes, then the technicalities are pretty capable. So it's a decent enough soundstage in terms of width. Could be a little bit deeper, has good height. The imaging as well is fine, nothing to be said to be faulted there. Detail retrieval again, very decent, and resolution as well. So overall, very capable in terms of its technical abilities. There's nothing really that you can fault it, but there's nothing as well that jumps out as being a wow factor. Okay, so overall, I would say that the SR7 is a solid, capable IEM with a good good balance of the frequency response. Only the area there at 6, 7, and 8 is slightly elevated as compared to the rest of the frequency, but nothing again that you can really truly pick up or that will in any way hinder the music reproduction or anything of the sort. I mean, just for some of the songs that I usually use, you guys already know, and I'll post them. But Sunrise from Larry Carlton, it's beautifully executed. The Long Road from Steve Oliver as well, beautifully executed. There's really nothing that can be faulted. Anyway, that's the SR7. MANGIRD, XENNS top. This belongs then to that second group of IEMs with a different bass execution. In this case, it's a tucked execution, and if there's one thing that immediately jumps to you when you listen to the MANGIRD or when you listen to the ISN the NEO5 is in songs like Sunrise from Larry Carlton or Long Road or even Tequila Moon from Jesse J, from Dusk to Dawn from George Duke, but the first two in particular, you notice the rumble that these IEMs are capable of doing. Okay, the others also have, but these two, especially the ISN and the MANGIRD, are just surreal in the amount of sub bass capabilities that they have, which is a good and bad point, mind you. Anyway, much like the SR7, in terms of the bass, really nothing to be faulted. More sub bass than the SR7, a better quality bass, quicker, more detailed. So I'm guessing it's safe to say that the driver that's been used here is a better quality driver. Mids, faultless, absolutely faultless. The only reason that the mids do not shine more and are not better is because of this copious amount of bass that is present in terms of the sub bass, which can sometimes just overwarm things up a little bit, and then you lose just that little lost smidge of sparkle, of cleanliness. Okay, that's the only thing. So male vocals will sound amazing, although sometimes they can sound just a little bit overly husky. Excuse me. Female vocals as well, the same situation, but this is just down to the fact that the bass has been tuned the way it is, which brings with it, you know, good aspects. It brings an added sense of lushness and an added sense of weight. It gives you the feeling that you're listening to something very premium, and also conveys a nice organic kind of sound. While when the bass is leaner, you know, you can get more detail. Fine, true, that's true. But sometimes as well, you also lose a certain amount of life. It becomes very lifeless, very clinical. Personally, I prefer more this style of bass. So this fuller bass is my preference, and I mean the ISN and the MANGIRD are the two that I kind of gravitate towards the most. Mids, highs, everything perfect. I mean, absolutely faultless, nothing to be said. Technically, very capable. And again, if it doesn't shine more technically, it's just because of the amount of bass present. Soundstage is wide, it's deep, it's high, it's tall. Sorry. Imaging spot on, detailed retrieval spot on. Once again, let me just repeat: if they are not better, it's just because of the amount of bass. All right. Are they referenced for an IEM of this price? No, they are not referenced. There are better IEMs that do that better, and in fact, there's an IEM here that, in my opinion, is the one that has the best technicalities, which is the Aful Performer 8. The Aful Performer 8 is technically the most capable IEM out of all of these, because it ticks more boxes more times than less times, and that's it. So the overall score, when you consider, you know, the soundstage and the imaging and the detailed retrieval and the resolution and the timbre and tonality, it scores more times, more points than the others. The differences are not huge, mind you, so also keep that in mind. It's not like the Performer 8 absolutely destroys the rest of them. No, it doesn't. And also there were songs where, for example, it actually doesn't perform as well as the MANGIRD or the NEO5 or even the SR7. So let's keep things fair and just. So yeah, that's it. Again, very capable sounding IEM, with very much a organic, very old school kind of sound, just much like the ISN, the NEO5. While, for example, the SR7 already goes towards a sound which is a little bit more clinical, a little bit more cold. Let's put it that way. And that's basically it. Then compared to the others that I have here, what can I say? And you know, please keep in mind, this is not me here now trying to find an outright winner, because the reality is any one of these IEMs at their specific price, they are worthwhile purchases, and you know, there are some that will do certain things better, others that will do other things better, and all will come down to what your music preferences are, what style of, you know, how loud you like listening to music. Many factors come into play, so it's very difficult or hard for me to actually say, no, this is the SR7 is the outright best one, or that. No, because they are all very good. The Tantrum Cara, I've got it here because it really is a deserving product from Tantrum to get its mojo back. Tantrum has been a little bit on the low. Basically the Oxygen was the last time they had a true winner. The other IEMs that have come after that have been a little bit, okay, fine. You could give the Tanya some merit. You could also give the Zero some merit. But in terms of a better mid-fi or high-end IEM, if you want to call it that way, they haven't had anything really good. How does then the Tantrum, for example, compare to the SR7? The Tantrum, I ultimately it loses out to the SR7 and it loses out to the MANGIRD, but it is very capable of trading some good blows with them, especially in the mids. In the mids, the car is very competent. It is in the bass where I was expecting, due to the graph at least, I was expecting a little bit more weight, note weight, and although graphically it looks more like the Neo and the MANGIRD, the bass there kind of ends up being more similar to the bass of the SR7 or the P8 or the P5 or the Aful than the others. You know, that's basically it. So it's a nice sounding IEM. It's deserving of getting some traction going, but it's not a better IEM than the SR7 or than the MANGIRD. Aful Performer 5, kind of the Aful Performer 5 was one of my was and still is one of my references or go-tos when I'm asked about the 1+4 hybrid, or a hybrid for that matter. And compared here to these two, compared to the SR7, it keeps up with the SR7 pretty decent. That's the truth. It keeps up with the SR7 very, very decently. Compared to the MANGIRD, not so much. It will be better than the MANGIRD only in the fact that because it's got less bass, it sounds a little bit more balanced out. So for the non-bass heads, you'll probably end up appreciating and enjoying more the P5. So overall, it's not a better IEM. The P5, for however good it is not able to bring down the MANGIRD, in my opinion, but it trades some solid blows here with the SR7, some solid blows. Finally, the 41T. The 41T is just about being mellow and being melodic and about being very old school kind of sounding, very organic, and all of those things make for it for a very easy listen, very satisfying listen that loses to the SR7 because it doesn't ultimately have the technical capabilities the SR7 has, and as well the MANGIRD top for that matter, and it loses out more so to the MANGIRD because although when you listen to it on its own, the bass seems full and you know quite thick. Let's put it that way, thick in a good way. You know, it doesn't have the sub bass capability that the MANGIRD has. Not even close. So I mean, those it's not that they lose. Obviously, the price difference that they have, you know. Something would have to be very wrong here if they were beating the let's say this front stock, but very capable IEMs, any one of those three, and they are there precisely because they are capable and because they are IEMs that I you know, with no hesitation will recommend. Moving on to the Neo5, the P8, and again the SR7 and the MANGIRD. The Neo5 and the MANGIRD are basically the same in terms of the overall sound. The difference here lies in that area between 2 and 4K, where you have a little bit more energy more on the MANGIRD. Can give a little bit more life to the mids, especially female vocals to a certain extent. But bass-wise, you know, everything is very similar. Great bass. It's clean. It's full. It's like a good old American V8. You know, big block, loads of bass, but well executed. It's not a bass which is bloated and drags. You know, it's a well executed, good thick bass with that nice note weight. You know, which is testament obviously that they've chosen good drivers. The drivers being used here are good quality drivers. Mid range, the Neo is a little bit more laid back as compared to the MANGIRD, as compared to the SR7. Very similar, and even to the MANGIRD. When I say laid back, I say that, but It's minor, the difference. In terms of treble, I personally feel that the treble on the Neo 5 is better than the SR7 and on the same level as the treble on the MANGIRD. So that's that. Finally, Performer 8. Performer 8 is quickly becoming a new reference, or a new winner for Aful, for that matter. And it sounds like I said in the beginning, is very similar to the sound of the SR7. What that means is that the bass is very similar, although I notice a slight more bass note here on the P8 as compared to the SR7. Mids are very, very equal, although ultimately I think that the Performer 8 is the IEM that has, out of all the IEMs here, the best mid execution, because of the way that it's then balanced with the bass and with the treble. Okay, this is not a huge difference, no it isn't, but it's got the best balance. The bass, the mids of the MANGIRD would be every bit as good, if not even better. The only thing that doesn't allow them to fully shine is the amount of bass that you have, which kind of just over thickens things, over colors things unnecessarily so. And that's basically it. I mean, technically, compared to the SR7, it's a superior IEM to the SR7. Compared to the MANGIRD top, they trade blows. Very, very similar. Soundstage in terms of width, height, depth, imaging, nothing really to be faulted there. The thing that, again, I just want to bring out to your attention is, in terms of imaging and detail retrieval, both the Neo and the MANGIRD can sometimes just not shine 100% because of the way that the bass has been tuned, okay? But other than that, they are top marks. And that's it, guys. I mean, like I said in the beginning, this is not really me now trying to find what is ultimately the best. Any one of these IEMs here is fantastic. If you have the money and you want a real sub-bass monster, then MANGIRD top, MANGIRD XENNS top is definitely the option to go for. If you don't have as much money but you want a very similar sound to that, then the Neo 5 is a perfect choice. If, however, you don't are not a fancy, you don't appreciate 100% this kind of old school vibes that's going here in these two, that kind of more 70s 80s kind of big speaker sound, very organic, very full. If that's not your sound, but you want a more detailed sound, more clinical, but clinical without being boring or cold or anything of the sort, then definitely Performer 8 is an option, and the SR7 also is a good solid option. Okay, if you do not have money for either one of these two and you want something cheaper, then if you want something very, very relaxed, very chilled, which kind of has vibes of these two, the 41T, definitely for $163. I mean, you can't really go wrong. Performer 5, again, laid back but with a little bit more detail, okay, is a viable option over the Performer 8 and SR7 if you don't have the cash for them. And the Tanstream, like I said in the beginning, and I say it again, it seems to me when I was looking at the parts used by the drivers here, that it seems to be the one that has the most basic internals. Okay, no fancy diaphragm, beryllium or anything of the sort, no fancy sonion or nulls. That at least doesn't seem like it, but whatever they did there, they did well, and it's well tuned and it plays really, really good. Okay, that's what matters. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little first part of mine. I'll show you now the graphs and we'll wrap it up afterwards. Okay, you take care now. Bye bye.
Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section for this SR7 and MANGIRD XENNS top review. The first two graphs that you see straight away is of the SR7, the SoundRhyme. Let me just actually remove one of them for a second so that we can understand. Okay, this is the SR7 with the settings of the switches in 0, 1. And this is the setting that I suggest. This is the setting that I advise, because everything is way more balanced. Everything is way more, makes way more sense. And the whole frequency response basically stays within a window of roughly about 8 dBs, 62 to 6970, so 8 dBs roughly. And it's just that area, as I mentioned, between 6 and 8 that slightly goes above, but you don't really nothing. This is very much imperceptible. It's not an issue. The dip there at 5K, which is nice, so no sibilance. And the rest of the signatures you can see is very nice. I mean, bass is a nice gliding style of bass, very relaxed, very neutral, warm kind of signature, some extension past 10K, actually more than what the graph suggests, okay? The other one that I'm going to put now is the same SR7 with the 1-1 switch. And whichever way you look at it, be it if I balance out the above 1K, or if I normalize it at 1K, it doesn't really matter. What we do get is a signature normalized at 1. What happens is we start having a signature which is now way more emphasized on the bass. And this extra bass, although fun and engaging and nice, I personally feel that it just overpowers the nice mids that the actual SR7 has. It takes away from the magic which is actually present in these mids, because these mids, trust me, are very good. The mids of the SR7 are very, very good. Anyway, I'm just going to leave the graph that I used, which is this one, and I'm going to show you now the graph of the MANGIRD Zen Stop. The MANGIRD Zen Stop, as you can see, it's got a different style of bass. It's got that tuck style of bass, crazy amounts of sub bass. Okay, but then between 200 and 4K, very similar to the SR7. It then just carries on plateaued in that 4 to 6K area. And there's definitely more extension past 10K. There's more sense of air, of 3D, of atmosphere, let's put it that way. And this graph particularly is very similar to the graph of the ISN NEO, which I'm going to show to you now. The ISN NEO is over here, the ISN NEO5. Okay, that's the NEO5. And as I said in the review, the NEO5 and is, we could almost say the NEO5 is a baby version of the MANGIRD top. Okay, same kind of bass, just a little bit less energetic, 2 to 4K area. And then the rest is very, very, very equal. I mean, honestly, considering that one is a 1+8 and one is a 1+4, the similarity in the signature is actually quite uncanny, and they sound very, very equal. There's just a little bit more openness in the sound of the MANGIRD, but honestly, like I said as well, if you don't have the money for the MANGIRD and you want an amazing IEM that's going to give you that kind of full bass, rumbly sound, with always maintaining a high quality, because that's the Penon and the ISN signature is nice bass always. It's not a boomy bass, and no, it's a nice thick bass that's got loads of quality, loads of that old school kind of home speaker vibe going. Definitely the ISN NEO5 is a very solid rec from me. Okay, very much like these two are similar, the MANGIRD and the NEO. The Performer 8 and from Aful and the SR7 are also very similar. And I'm going to show you now the Performer 8. 1 second. My apologies. Aful Performer 8. Where are we? Aful Performer 8. There we go. All right. As you can see, the Aful Performer 8 as well, very similar to the SR7. Same kind of bass as well, kind of gliding style of bass, very, very equal. The only difference that you do feel is that, well, the two differences that you feel between the two of them is that although graphically it seems like they've got the same kind of bass, you feel that the bass of the Aful is more rumbly, it's more thick, more full, okay? Which is a testament not only to the crossover network that they've implemented, but also the technology of the length of the sound tubes, which conveys that 8mm, that depth, that thickness, that big cubic inch kind of size of sound. And then you also feel that, at least I felt that there's way more extension past 10K with way more 3D-ness, and there's a reason why I think that the Performer 8 is the best technically. This doesn't really show anything, or doesn't tell me anything about the technical capabilities of it, obviously, but there is definitely some mojo there in the Performer 8 which makes it have, for me at least, the best technicalities. I mean, the technicalities of the MANGIRD are not that far behind, or I could even say they are equal, but just the fact that we're talking about an IEM that costs almost $200 more, automatically it loses out. That's the reality. So yeah, the Performer 8, as you can see, perfect, very much on par with the way that, I mean, everything is done up to about 4.5K. It's very similar to the SR7. And then the other three IEMs that I selected, which I thought also made sense, are the Performer 5. Where are we? Performer 5, Performer 5. The Cara and the Performer 5, so the Cara number 9. Okay, the 10 string Cara. I apologize for the graph always coming out with this with regards to the Cara. I don't know why it is. The interesting about the Cara is that although it graphs like this, and you would think that it would then have a similar base to, for example, the NEO5 or the MANGIRD, because they all have this kind of tucked type of bass, the reality is it is not as pronounced as the bass of the NEO5 or the MANGIRD top, and also the mids are not as forward as what the graph would lead you to believe. Okay, but anyway, that's the Cara there. Let me just take away. Sorry about that. So that's the Cara. Let me just show you now the Aful Performer 5. Where are we? Aful Performer 5. Aful Performer 5. Aful Performer 5. Here we go. Number 10. And as well the Jazir 41T. Okay, these three. Let me actually normalize it as well. They're at 1K. These three are here obviously for solid reasons, namely the fact that they are very well tuned, in my opinion. Any one of the three is very well tuned. They are full. Not much needs to be said. It speaks for itself. Very well, engineered, very well tuned. It just sounds absolutely fantastic. The Performer 5 has its spot as one of my rigs for a good solid reason. Nice bass, no bleeding into the mids. Mids are perfectly executed, good extension past 10K, great technicalities. It's fine. And when you, for example, compare it to the SR7, you can see it holds its own with the SR7, with a lot of similarities as well. And even with the MANGIRD top as well, the same kind of being able of keeping up with it. All right. The Jazir 41T, very nice, a little bit less detailed up top in the treble and in the past 10K area than the Aful, but also very mellow, very smooth, very relaxed. And then finally the 10 string, the Cara. It's got more extension than what the graph actually will lead you to believe in terms of past 10K. The mid bass is nice, and I guess because the mid bass is perhaps a little bit emphasized, let's put it that way, maybe you don't notice so much that rumbliness that supposedly this sort of graph would make you believe it has. But anyway, these three are solid, and they are here because at their respective prices, they are still very good rigs. I mean, we're talking the Cara 179, the Performer 5 is currently at like 185, if I'm not mistaken, and the Jazir is 165. So we have three IEMs which are all very solid, very, very well tuned. So good proper choices. If your budget is limited to $200, if your budget allows, then like I said, it all depends. Do you want a smoother sound and a more relaxed sound? Then if smooth and relaxed is what you want, then I would say the SR7 or the Performer 8 are your two options. They are the ones that make the most sense. And again, I repeat, I personally disliked the SR7 with the bass emphasized. But if what you want is a nice, smooth presentation, these two are definitely the two very solid options. If you ask me which one I would choose, ultimately, I think that the the Performer 8 is more polished. It's more polished. It's just got that little extra that is enough to justify me choosing it over the SR7. But I'm more than happy with the SR7. Trust me, more than happy. If you want a sound which is a little bit more fun and engaging and thick in the bass, especially in the sub bass, because that's your thing, then NEO5 and the MANGIRD are the two definite choices. And in this case, because of the price that it has, and not that it doesn't sound good, mind you, please, but especially because of the price that it has, I would definitely go for the NEO5. The NEO5 for the price, I think right now they are I like a lot of or the majority, I actually like all of the products from Panon and ISN that I've tested so far. Let's be honest about it. But if I have to kind of choose 3 products or 4 models that stand out of all of them that I've tried, and I've tried quite a few by now, I would say definitely the NEO5 is one of them. The Panon Serial is another one, and the Panon 10th anniversary. These 3 are my 3 top choices from ISN and Panon. That doesn't mean that I don't like the EST50. I love the EST50. I think the EST50 in terms of a tri-brid is amazing. But we're talking now, the 10th anniversary is also a tri-brid. But anyway, those 3 are my top choices. The EST50 is another one that I really, really enjoyed. The H30 from ISN as well. Very solid IEM. Anyway, look, it's like I said, it all ends up depending on what is your preferred style of music, what is the preferred style of sound that you want. You really cannot go wrong with any one of these 7 IEMs, because they are all excellent, and they were all chosen for a specific reason. I didn't just put them here, for the sake of putting them. All right. Anyway, guys, any questions you might have, please feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to answer as quickly as possible. You take care now, okay? Bye-bye. Take care.